Now, they play a role in terms of insider threats to organization, in the sense that during the course of their work, they have access to one or two information regarding the organization. As a result, it's a threat landscape that also need to be given the attention to. Now, we are talking about malicious purpose, or using their privilege to steal intellectual property or company data, or to fraud or sabotage or espionage, or to even probably blackmail the organization. All these are the various categories that make up what insider-related or threats. Now, from the statistics, it's very important we look at statistics. The average global cost of insider-related threat has increased from 31% over the last 2 years, from 8.7 million in 2018 to $11.45 million in 2020, meaning there have been a sporadic increase in terms of number and volume. And the reason for this is, one, awareness is a major part of it. Then benefits. I heard the various speakers talking about we were asking about what is the reason for cyber crime and all of that. Financial benefit is also one of the major things. Employees who are disgruntled, probably they are not happy because of what they are being paid. When they see another staff being paid certain amount and they see what they are being paid, so those things also lead to insider-related threat. Now, 90% of this cost goes towards what? Containment, remediation, incident response, and investigation. Now, an average cost of an incident involving credential theft is between $1,700 Now, let's look at the statistics between negligent insider-related threats and malicious insider. Now, 62% as a result of what? Negligent insiders are most common and account for what? Majority of the insider-related threat. Negligence, meaning staff who are not aware. For example, someone doesn't know that, when a staff resigns, his access right need to be disabled. A staff is not supposed to be given a privilege beyond what he or she is supposed to do. Now, it just creates users without necessarily assigning privilege to them based on their roles and responsibility. All these are what? Negligence. They account for a major percentage of the insider-related threat. Now, 25% are negligence, which have to do with stolen credentials. This is on that common where users compromise other users' credentials. Either they reset their password, or probably they try to use their credential to log in. Then the last one is malicious that are responsible for 14%. Meaning, looking at these statistics, it gives us an overview that in addressing this kind of issue, for example, we'll get to the solution remediation, meaning more focus needs to be given to in terms of awareness and training, because we saw negligence on the part of the user and even the this high rate of insider-related threats. Now, insider-related threats are most often motivated by financial benefits that we've already established. So, 45% of all employees, they are low, they save and otherwise exfiltrate work-related documents before leaving or after being dismissed from a job. This one is a major threat every organization is exposed to, except they have put some measures in place that will ensure that when your organization documents you use within the organization, you are unable to push it out. If not, most organizations they are exposed to use staff who have worked with them before, even when they've left, they still have access to information that they were working with while they were with the previous organization. Now, if you look at this across the various sectors, you can see that we have the highest between the financial sector and the technological sector, which constitute about 47 to 49% in terms of the statistics for insider-related threats across the various sectors. Now, we're talking about insider-related threats. Now, which aspect does it affect? So let's look at our technological landscape in terms of our IT infrastructure. Now, it's not only the user question. Now, it cuts across, starting from the network. Within the network, there are insider-related threats. within the server, the insider relationship, within the application, even your endpoint, your database, your email, all of this, now even your firewall, all of this, I will tell the world, in each of these systems, they are privileged users, they are privileged what users in each of these systems. Now, if they are not managed, they constitute what? Internal what? Security threats to every organization. Now, within your network, you start asking, who are the privileged users? Who are the super administrator? Now, who are those that have what? Administrative right and access? Their right and access, is it based on least privilege, or you just give everybody administrator? Because you have 4 network person, the 4 network persons are administrator. No, it shouldn't be so. All these constitute, they pose risk to your network. The same to also apply for the server, the same to apply for your application. So in each of these systems I've listed here, they are not limited to this. There must not be more than one super admin in each of these systems. Meaning, if other users need to do a carry out administrative purpose, it should be based on what? Least privilege. Least privilege. So the super admin will have the super right to do and undo. So you can have other sub admins that will carry out function. But what we've seen over the years in most organizations, they just create users and give them, if they need to carry out administrative privilege, just give them admin. And when they have that admin, they can do so many things. Now let's look at insider threat indicators. We're going to look at it from 2 different perspectives, from the digital and the behavioral perspective, then from the direct indicators and indirect indicators. Now, talk about data initiatives. Let's look at in terms of, okay, how does it occur? It occurs by obtaining large amounts of data, by sharing data with outsiders. Now, we know when you are not, every organization as a result of COVID, every organization, one way or the other, we've been exposed to the internet, either directly or indirectly. There's hardly any organization that is not visible on the internet, meaning your information is everywhere. The question is, how do you share this data? How do you share this information externally? Seeking or saving sensitive data. These are very key aspects. Request for access to sensitive data not related with their job function. All these are what the aspect relates to what the digital aspect. Acting outside of their unique behavioral profile. Make use of unauthorized or storage device. Now let's look at the behavioral aspects. Attempting to bypass what security controls. This is always what common. These are we're talking about internal. We're not talking about the external. These are internal. All these are related to internal. Now, frequently in the office during off hours, their staff, they will not work during the normal working time of 8 to 5. They always want to carry out their work from 6. They always want to be in the office during the weekend. All those are what indicators of likely what insider related what threat, because during that time they have enough time to carry out what they add, to carry out the things they want to do. So all these are indicators. Like some organization, there are some restrictions you place on your network to say you have what called work hours between 8 and 5. Aside those days, you cannot log into the system. So if you need to log in, there will be a prior approval from your superior. All these are to what guide against insider related threats. Now, displaying disgruntled behavior, violating corporate policies, even those unrelated to security, discussing investigation or looking for new career opportunities, acting withdrawn or unusual. All these are what the various indicators. Let's look at it from the direct indicators and indirect. Now, data exploration, unauthorized use of external system, USB, tablet. All these are very key. That's what every organization these days from the domain ensure that USB is disabled. Why? Is to guide against insider related threats. First, outside those threats that are related that are external. Now, abnormal corporate network activities such as calling, downloading of internal portals, sharing data with us, like unusual data requests. You see a particular staff sending certain information out to a particular email or a particular account on a regular basis. The question is, does his or her work function relate to what is being sent? All these are indicators. Indirect, workspace outside job hours, attempt to access privileged areas, compliance of unethical or hostile behavior, violation of corporate policy and disgruntled. All these are various indicators, both from the direct and data behavioral aspect. Now let's look at I talked so much about look at the various insider related threats. Now, the core thing around all what we're saying is privileged access. Now, one of the ways in mitigating most of those insider-related threats is the use of a privileged access management system. Now, we'll look at the various threats. There are three key things I will be focusing on is in managing this threat. It's not just from the system perspective. We'll look at it from the policy, we'll look at it from the process, we'll look at it from the people. Now, from the policy, as an organization, do you have a policy that speaks around is a privileged user or administrative user, how they should be created, how they should be managed, if there are requests? There should be a policy around it. In that policy, where we define, okay, for every privileged user, they must create them with a defined name. Creating a user with admin is not allowed. Because why? When there is an incident, you will not be able to determine who carried out that action. So if it must be done, that admin should be tied to a user account. There's nothing like staff 1 or ABC or staff 2. No. If you are a staff 2, if you need to carry those, that admin privilege should be assigned to that staff account. Now we're going to look at privileged access management policy. How it helps to prevent insider attack. One, it helps you to keep credential of your most sensitive assets in a central secure vault. For example, part of the policy will be you must maintain a privileged access user list templates. For example, all your systems, you should have all your systems listed. Each of these your system, who are the privileged access users, you should know. Then you should know the assets that they have and their username. So when there's an issue, you are able to carry out proper auditing. Now, you should limit privileged access to sensitive information. Meaning, when you are granting access, it should be based on least privilege. Now, remove local admin. This one is very, very important. Where we will add system to the domain, we will have some endpoint that are joined to the domain. Now, there are local admins within those systems. Those local admins must be disabled. If not, they can still use those local admin account to create to create malicious attack from that endpoint. So removing all local admin rights from all users' workstation and implement a policy to block malicious application. Then increase accountability and oversight with session monitoring and recording. This one is very, very key. Then you can implement a workflow approval for privileged account creation, such that the admin in the IT cannot just create a user and assign any administrative privilege user to that user without it going through a workflow. Meaning, when a workflow can define a workflow that, okay, when it creates it goes to the workflow of, let's say, the auditor or your internal control or security team, who verify that, which user has been created, what access is being given. Based on that, we validate that, this request is valid or not. Then you should be able to monitor and log privileged access user to sensitive information on that, and ensure that all users have adequate training. This one is very key to prevent unintentional mistake. So let's look at the circle. Let's look at it from the risk perspective, internal security threats risk. Now, first, we'll look at it from employee theft and sabotage. These are the kind of risk that your internal security threats, what it can pose to an organization. There are reputational risk, loss of income, security breaches, business disruption, disclosure of sensitive information, unauthorized access. All of these are the kind of risks that internal security threat poses to the organization. Reputation means, for example, when they get that information, they can start spreading fake information about the organization, and that puts the reputation of the organization at risk. Loss of income, when there are breaches. We heard of one that happened recently in Nigeria of a major institution, and that crime was well over some millions. And what was the reason? It was majorly around internal security threats, where the internal user has escalated privilege, and that privilege or that account was not being monitored or reviewed. That person was able to do so many things with it. Security breaches, business disruption. This has also affected the business itself. Now, how do we prevent it? So we're going to look at it from a 4 broad perspectives, and all these perspectives I have there, they are defined into 3 main areas. Looking at the process, people, and technology. Now we're talking about process. Yeah, we're looking at awareness and training. We're talking about the risk assessment. Now you need to be able to assess all your assets internally, all your controls internally. and begin to identify which of these ones, what are the insider-related threats that are related to each of these various assets, starting from your server, who has access to this server, from the network, who has access to the network, who are the privileged users in each of these, because the privileged users are the ones that pose the highest risk in terms of insider-related threats. Now, we need to look at how you need to implement security controls around them. Here, I'm talking about PAM, privileged access management solution. There are solutions that you can use so that all your privileged access across all your systems are being monitored. Anytime a privileged access is being granted, it flags and alerts. They need to have something like a SOC in place, security operations center, where we need to monitor activities of what users do across the various IT infrastructure, where you have for your NAC, your network access control, such that user is granted access based on what has been defined. They can need to see all the access every user has on the network. They need to audit all of these various internal related security threats that has been identified. Auditing tools can come in, the automated auditing tools that can be used, and also manually auditing them too. So, okay, go to the system, review those logs if you don't have something like a SOC in place or you don't have auditing tools. All these are very key in preventing insider-related threats. In conclusion, when we talk about cybercrime and banking in the financial sector, we tend to focus on external threats, but often organizational insider threats are more likely to be the most source of breach. This is very, very true. But what we've seen over the years, most of the threats that have been perpetrated, majority are insider-related threats. Only very few are external. So in fact, if you can say insider threat pose a greater risk than external threats, as your employee already know where your company crown jewels are. This is very important. A staff that have worked in the IT department, he knows the assets that are the crown jewel. So he knows the various things around, he knows the network architecture, he knows the various privileges, he understands how the system, when he leaves, for example, he knows where to launch an attack to. So these crown jewels could include the assets that drive cash flow. So insider tends to know what exactly resides on the network and how to gain access to them. This is very true for the purpose of what? Of theft. So how do you tackle this problem of insider threat? The solution is that it must be tackled from two angles, both culturally, by educating your users, and what? Technologically. Very, very important. You don't just put the technology, but you also need to educate the users how they should create users, how they should monitor access, how they should review, what should be done. When a staff leave, what should be done, revoking of all of this are very, very key. By putting further control, restriction and monitoring in place on your users, you also need to monitor the users for their own benefit and that of the organization they work for. So user lock is also an enterprise security software that also control and secure networks. This is very important. When users try to access, or probably when a privileged account is assigned to a user or having some systems, the first thing you do, if it's not approved, that account is locked. All these are various controls. So privileged access user, like I mentioned, a PAM solution is the control and tracking of credentials of all your privileged assets that have been granted, whether the access is to sensitive data or for special ability within a given system. Thank you very much.